The camera glides slowly over a quiet American suburb, rows of neatly trimmed lawns and pastel-colored houses stretching into the fading light of a late summer evening. Children ride bicycles in the cul-de-sac, sprinklers arc water across emerald grass, and dogs bark playfully at passers-by. At first glance, everything feels idyllic, almost too perfect, like a postcard version of the American dream. But then the lens stops at house number 17. Unlike the others, its lawn is overgrown, the grass curling brown at the edges. The paint on the shutters peels and strips, and the porch light hasn't been turned on in years. Curtains hang heavy across every window, hiding whatever lies inside. A single rocking chair sits abandoned on the front porch, swaying slightly though there is no wind. The mood shifts. Neighbors walk past number 17 with subtle quickness in their steps, as if afraid to linger. Children who moments ago were laughing and playing avoid the front yard altogether, casting nervous glances at the darkened windows. In whispered tones, they trade stories of the woman who lives there, a shadowy figure, rarely seen, and never spoken to. "Don't go near that house," one mother warns her young son as they pass by. "She's not right in the head." The camera lingers on the house, giving the audience just enough unease to wonder what truth might hide behind those thick curtains. Cut to a moving truck parked 2 houses down. A lively Latin American family is unloading boxes and furniture. Among them is Luis, a 13-year-old boy with messy hair, wide curious eyes, and the restless energy of someone too young to sit still. He darts around, carrying lighter boxes, then pauses when he notices the strange house at the end of the street. Luis sets his box down, squinting at the peeling paint, the curtains drawn tight. He feels the prick of curiosity, the kind that every child knows, the magnetic pull toward the forbidden. His mother notices where he's looking. She wipes sweat from her forehead and mutters in Spanish. "Luis, stay away from that house." The neighbors say the old woman inside is strange. But the warning only deepens his fascination. Luis tilts his head, watching as the last rays of sunlight fade and shadows climb up the walls of number 17. He imagines stories in his head, maybe she's a witch, or a ghost, or someone who kidnaps children. His imagination runs wild, and with it comes both excitement and fear. Later that evening, as the family sets up their new home, laughter and chatter fill the air. But from his bedroom window, Luis can see house 17 in the distance, a dark silhouette against the glow of streetlights. The longer he stares, the more questions creep into his mind. Why does no one visit? Why does the house feel alive, as if it's holding its breath? And most of all, who is the woman inside? The camera closes in on the house once more. A faint flicker of blue light escapes through a tiny crack in the curtains, just for a second, as though something mechanical whirred to life inside. Then darkness swallows it again. Luis presses his forehead to the glass, eyes wide. He doesn't know it yet, but this house, number 17, will change his life forever. Fade to black. The next morning, the sun washes over the neighborhood in golden light. Luis rides his second-hand bike down the street, weaving between sprinklers that spray the sidewalk. Everything feels fresh and new, except for the uneasy weight in the back of his mind. He can't stop thinking about house 17. At the corner, a group of neighborhood kids have gathered. They're about Luis's age, wearing baseball caps, graphic t-shirts, and sneakers worn from endless summer games. They glance at the newcomer with the kind of curiosity kids always have about someone new. "Hey," one of them calls out. "You just moved in, right?" Luis brakes his bike, nodding shyly. Another boy, taller with freckles and a mischievous grin, gestures down the street. "You live near there, don't you?" He points toward the faded silhouette of house 17. Luis hesitates, then shrugs. "Yeah, what's the deal with it?" "That's all it takes." The kid's eyes widen, and suddenly they're all talking at once. "My brother says the old lady in there's a witch." No, my mom said she was in the war and went crazy. I heard she never comes out 'cause she killed somebody, and the cops just let her hide." Each rumor is wilder than the last. Luis tries to laugh, but their voices carry a strange conviction, as if these tales are more than just games, their beliefs passed down like neighborhood folklore. The freckled boy leans closer, lowering his voice dramatically. Sometimes, at night, you can see lights in her windows. Blue and green. My cousin swears she's building something in there. Some kind of machine. Luis's heart skips. He remembers the flicker he saw last night through the curtains. The kid senses his unease and smirk, satisfied. If you're brave, one girl challenges, go knock on her door. Bet you won't. They laugh, scattering back to their bikes and skateboards, but the seed is planted. Luis pedals away, pretending not to care. Yet as he rides past house 17, he can't help slowing down. The house looms, silent and still, except for a faint hum, so faint he wonders if he imagined it. The curtains are drawn tight, as always. For a brief moment, Luis thinks he sees a shadow shift behind the fabric, as though someone is standing right there, watching. He quickly looks away, pumping the pedals harder until he's safely down the block. But his mind races. That night at dinner, his family chats happily about settling into their new home. His father jokes about fixing the leaky faucet, his mother complains about unpacking. Luis pokes at his food, distracted. Finally, he blurts out, "Do you guys know anything about the lady in number 17? The room falls quiet for a beat too long. His parents exchange a glance. His father clears his throat. People say a lot of things. Most of them aren't true. But, she keeps to herself. Best to leave her be. His mother adds gently, Luisito, not everyone wants company. Sometimes, when people get older, they just close themselves off. But the way she says it doesn't ease his curiosity, it deepens it. Luis can feel that House 17 isn't just the home of a lonely old woman. Something more waits behind those walls. Later, lying in bed, he listens to the crickets outside and stares at the faint outline of the house through his window. The neighborhood's laughter has faded, but the whispers linger in his ears, witch, crazy, murderer. And then, as if to taunt him, a faint glow pulses from behind the curtains of number 17. Blue. Green. Then gone. Luis swallows hard. He knows he won't be able to ignore it much longer. Fade out. The next few days blur together, each one hotter than the last. Luis spends his mornings biking around the neighborhood and his afternoons helping his mother unpack boxes. But every time he passes number 17, his eyes flick to the shuttered windows. The house seems to change depending on the hour. In daylight, it's merely shabby, peeling paint, a porch sagging from neglect. But by twilight, when the cicadas drone and the streetlights flicker on, it becomes something else entirely. A brooding presence. A place that waits. On the fourth evening, Luis can't stand it anymore. The glow he saw, blue, green, pulsing like a heartbeat, won't leave his thoughts. He tells himself it's just a lamp, maybe a TV. But when the kids in the park whisper about the witch again, their voices sticky with both fear and delight, he realizes he needs to know the truth. So, after dinner, while his parents settle in with the news on TV, Luis slips outside. The air is warm, the street unusually quiet. He rides his bike slowly, deliberately, until he stops in front of number 17. For a long moment, he just stares. His palms sweat against the handlebars. He can almost hear the kids' voices daring him, bet you won't. He swallows, steels himself, and walks up the creaking porch steps. The wood groans under his sneakers. Up close, the house smells faintly of dust and something metallic, like rust or old coins. Luis raises a trembling hand and knocks. Once. Twice. At first, nothing. Just silence. Then, suddenly, the door opens. Not all the way, just a crack. And in that crack appears an eye. Pale, sharp, and unblinking. Luis freezes. What do you want? The voice is hoarse but firm, with a strange accent that Luis can't place. He stammers. Uh, I'm sorry. I live down the street now. I wanted to say hi. The eye narrows. For a second, Luis is sure the door will slam shut. But instead, it opens wider, revealing the old woman. She is smaller than he imagined, wrapped in a heavy shawl despite the summer heat. Her hair, long and silver, cascades down like threads of moonlight. Her face is a map of wrinkles, but her eyes burn with an intensity that makes Luis's skin prickle. New, she says softly, almost to herself. Always new ones moving in. Luis forces a smile, trying to remember his manners. I'm Luis. My family just moved into number 12. For a moment, the woman says nothing. She studies him the way someone might study a strange insect, curious, cautious, maybe even sad. Then, without warning, she steps back. Come in, then. Luis hesitates. Every warning, every rumor, every whisper screams at him to run. But something else, a pull he can't explain, roots him to the spot. Slowly, he steps inside. The air is cooler here, tinged with the faint smell of herbs and machine oil. The living room is cluttered but not filthy, shelves of books stacked high, jars filled with powders and dried plants, and in the corner, a strange contraption made of wires, copper coils, and glass tubes. It hums faintly, glowing with that same blue-green light he saw from outside. Luis's mouth goes dry. What is that? The old woman's lips curve into the faintest of smiles. Something the others wouldn't understand. She leans heavily on a cane, her gaze never leaving him. Most children who come here run away before stepping through the door. You are not like them. Luis shifts uncomfortably. They said things about you. The woman chuckles, a low, rasping sound. Of course they did. People always invent stories about what they fear. She moves closer, her eyes glinting. Tell me, Luis. Do you fear me? Luis's heart thunders in his chest. He wants to say yes. He wants to bolt back into the night. But for some reason, the word won't come out. I don't know, he whispers. The old woman studies him for a long, unreadable moment. Then she nods, as if satisfied. Good. Then perhaps you are the one I've been waiting for. Luis stands frozen just inside the doorway. The house is dim, lit only by that strange blue-green glow from the machine in the corner. The contraption hums like a restless animal, alive in a way that feels unnatural. The old woman closes the door behind him with a soft click. For a moment, the sound feels final, like a lock sealing shut. Sit, she says, motioning toward a wooden chair near a cluttered table. Luis obeys, though every nerve in his body screams for escape. On the table lies a scatter of objects, brittle photographs, faded newspaper clippings, and a silver pocket watch that ticks unevenly. He leans closer and notices that in some of the photos, the same woman, appears again and again, though the dates scribbled on the back stretch across decades. Luis swallows hard. How old are you? The woman doesn't answer right away. Instead, she lowers herself into a rocking chair, her shawl pooling around her like shadows. She fixes him with those piercing eyes. Old enough to have seen this town change more times than I can count, she says finally. Old enough to remember when these houses were fields. When the street you live on was nothing but dirt and dust. Luis blinks. That can't be true. No one could live that long. You don't believe me, she says, reading his face. Good. Doubt keeps you sharp. But I will show you something, so you'll know. She rises with surprising speed, crossing to the glowing machine. Her fingers dance across its knobs and switches with the ease of long practice. The coils spark, the tubes flicker, and the air grows thick with static. Luis grips the chair arms, his stomach flipping as the glow swells brighter, almost blinding. Then, suddenly, an image appears in the air above the machine. A projection. A memory. It's the same street Luis lives on now, but stripped bare, no houses, no asphalt, just rolling fields under a wide sky. Then the image shifts, clapboard houses rise, children play in yards, Model T cars rattle down a dirt road. Luis gasps. That's here. The old woman nods. I built this device to hold fragments of time. To keep the past from vanishing completely. Her voice hardens. Because if you forget the past, Luis, you repeat it. And some mistakes must never be repeated. Luis tears his gaze away from the vision to stare at her. The neighborhood kids weren't wrong, there is something strange about her. But it's not witchcraft. It's something else. Something even harder to believe. Why are you showing me this? He whispers. The woman studies him for a long moment before speaking. Because you didn't run. That means you are either foolish, or brave. Either way, I need someone who can listen. Luis's throat tightens. He wants to protest, to say he's just a kid, that he doesn't belong in this dark, heavy place. But another part of him, deeper, more curious, leans forward. What happened here? He asks softly. The woman's expression darkens. She lowers her voice until it is almost a whisper. 70 years ago, this town tried to bury something. An event. A tragedy. They think it's gone, forgotten. She glances toward the glowing machine, the shifting images inside it. But it isn't gone. The echoes are still here. And they will return. A chill ripples down Luis's spine. He doesn't understand all her words, but he feels the weight of them, the heaviness of something vast and dangerous lurking just beneath the surface of his new neighborhood. Before he can ask more, a sudden knock rattles the front door. Both of them jump. The woman's eyes narrow. Not tonight, she mutters. She quickly dials down the machine, and the glow sputters, fading into darkness. She grips Luis's arm with surprising strength and leans close. Her whisper is fierce. Go home now. Say nothing. Not yet. Luis's legs feel like water as he stumbles toward the door. He opens it, breathes in the cool night air, and darts back into the street. He doesn't stop running until number 17 is far behind him. But even as he gasps for breath, he knows one thing for certain, whatever secret that house holds, he's already part of it. Luis wakes the next morning with a heaviness in his chest. He barely slept, the woman's words circling his mind like restless birds, some mistakes must never be repeated. The echoes are still here. At breakfast, he pokes at his cereal while his mom chatters about organizing the garage. His dad scrolls through his phone, occasionally muttering about work emails. Neither of them notice how distracted he is. Luis considers telling them what happened, but the woman's warning, say nothing, not yet, rings too loudly in his ears. Instead, he swallows his secret with the last spoonful of milk and excuses himself. In the park later that day, the kids from the neighborhood are clustered under the shade of a maple tree. As Luis approaches, he catches fragments of their hushed conversation. Swear I saw lights again. Nah, she doesn't even come outside. My brother says his friend went in there once and never came out. The words prickle across Luis's skin. He knows they're exaggerating, half of them probably don't believe their own stories. But what unnerves him is how close they are to the truth. When the kids spot him, their chatter halts. A boy with freckles smirks. Hey, new kid. You live on the same street as her, right? Number 12. Luis nods cautiously. Bet you won't go up to her porch. Luis swallows. His pulse quickens, memories of the humming machine flashing in his mind. Maybe I already did, he blurts before thinking. The group falls silent. A girl with braids tilts her head. Liar. Nobody goes in there. Luis shrugs, trying to play it off, but the air feels tense now. One boy leans forward, eyes wide. What did you see? A dozen expectant faces stare at him. Luis opens his mouth, then closes it. The woman's voice echoes in his head, "Go home. Say nothing." He forces a laugh, waving dismissively. "Nothing. Just an old lady. Smells like mothballs in there." Some of the kids laugh too, relief easing the moment. But the girl with braids narrows her eyes, studying him like she doesn't believe a word. As the group disperses, Luis lingers on the swing set, kicking at the dirt. His heart still pounds. He knows he did the right thing, keeping her secret, but it feels like carrying a weight only he can see. That evening, his mom asks him to take the trash out. He drags the bag to the curb, the air heavy with the scent of cut grass and distant barbecue. Across the street, Mrs. Harlan, the nosy neighbor, waters her flowers. She's lived there forever, everyone says. She waves, then lowers her voice conspiratorially. "You stay away from that house, you hear me?" She nods toward number 17, her lips pressed tight. "Bad things happen there. Always have." Luis hesitates. "Like, what kind of bad things?" Mrs. Harlan frowns, as if she's said too much. She twists the hose shut, the water sputtering. "Accidents. People going missing. Fires. Every family that gets too close ends up regretting it." Her eyes flick to him, sharp and worried. "You're a good boy. Don't go sniffing around where you don't belong." Before Luis can respond, she turns away, retreating into her house. Luis stands frozen on the curb, trash bag dangling from his hand. Missing people. Fires. Regret. That night, lying in bed, he listens to the hum of cicadas and the far-off wail of a train. His window looks straight down the street, to where number 17 sits in the shadows. For a moment, he swears he sees the faintest flicker of blue-green light through the shutters. Mrs. Harlan's warning rings in his ears, but another thought drowns it out: the woman had said the echoes will return. And somehow, Luis knows he won't be able to stay away. The first sign comes 2 nights later. Luis wakes to a faint buzzing, like static from a radio. At first, he thinks it's his dad's phone charging on the dresser, but then he realizes the sound isn't coming from inside the room. It's seeping through the window, drifting in from the street. He creeps to the glass, pulling back the curtain just enough to peek outside. The night is humid, the street lamp buzzing with moths. But what makes his breath catch is the shimmer of pale blue-green light leaking from the cracks of number 17. It pulses faintly, in rhythm with the buzzing. Luis presses his forehead to the cool glass, transfixed. He remembers the machine's glow, the way it painted the walls inside her living room. This looks the same, except stronger, sharper, like the house itself is breathing. The light flickers once, then vanishes. The street falls silent. Luis stumbles back, heart hammering. He wants to believe he imagined it, but the buzzing still lingers in his ears. The next morning, he drags himself to the kitchen, bleary-eyed. His mom frowns. "Did you stay up all night on your phone?" Luis shakes his head, mumbling something about the heat. He doesn't dare mention the light. Later, biking through town, he notices something else. On the notice board outside the library, someone has pinned up a yellowed newspaper clipping. The headline reads, "Local boy missing, last seen near Elm Street." The date makes Luis's stomach twist. It's from 1973. He leans closer. The grainy black and white photo shows a boy about his age, smiling shyly at the camera. Below it, the article says he was last seen walking home at dusk. The search went on for weeks but turned up nothing. Luis hears footsteps and glances back. The girl with braids, the one who doubted him in the park, stands a few feet away, arms crossed. "You shouldn't stare at that," she says. Luis frowns. "Why not?" "Because," she lowers her voice. "That boy lived on your street. Near number 17. Luis's pulse skips. "How do you know?" "My grandma told me. She was a teenager then. People whispered that he went into that house and never came out." Her eyes search his. You've been there, haven't you? Louise stiffens. His silence is answer enough. She leans closer, almost whispering. Then you should stay away. If you don't, you'll disappear too. Before he can respond, she spins on her heel and walks off, braids bouncing behind her. That night, Luis lies awake again. Every creak of the house makes him flinch. At midnight, he hears a soft scratching sound, from inside his room. His breath catches. Slowly, he turns his head. On his desk, the silver pocket watch he saw in the old woman's house sits ticking faintly. Except, he never brought it home. Luis bolts upright. He grabs the watch, its surface icy cold despite the summer air. The hands tick unevenly, spinning too fast, then freezing, then jerking forward again. He stares at it, panic rising in his throat. How did it get here? A whisper, faint but clear, brushes past his ear. Don't forget. Luis drops the watch. It hits the floor with a dull clink, but when he scrambles to pick it up, it's gone. He sits there, shaking, listening to the silence of his room. But deep down, he knows silence is a lie. The warning signs are real. Whatever haunts number 17 has already crossed his threshold. By morning, Luis knows he can't ignore it anymore. The pocket watch that appeared and vanished wasn't just a trick of his imagination. He felt its weight. He heard its voice. Something from number 17 has crossed into his life, and only one person can explain it, the old woman herself. So after school, while the sun sinks and the shadows lengthen across the street, Luis pedals slowly toward the house. The shutters are closed, the porch sagging in silence. His legs tremble as he climbs the steps, but he forces himself to knock. This time, the door opens almost immediately, as if she had been waiting. You saw it, didn't you? She says, her eyes sharp as knives. Luis stares at her, stunned. The watch. How did it end up in my room? The old woman steps aside, motioning him in. Her voice is grave. Because once you've been touched by the echoes, they follow you. You can't run from them. Luis hesitates, then enters. The machine hums faintly in the corner, its coils glowing with that eerie pulse. The sight of it makes his skin crawl. He blurts out, "You have to tell me what this is." What it does. The woman grips her cane and lowers herself into the rocking chair. She studies him for a long moment, as if deciding how much truth he can handle. Finally, she speaks. It is a vessel, she says. A keeper of fractures. It doesn't just show memories, it catches the fragments of time when something violent, something unfinished, leaves a scar. The echoes of what once was. Luis frowns. Like ghosts? Her lips twitch. Ghosts are children's stories. This is worse. These are loops of pain, grief, fear, moments that refuse to die. They replay themselves until someone anchors them. Luis shivers. Anchors them? How? The woman leans forward. By stepping into the fracture. By seeing it, holding it, and bringing it to rest. She points toward the machine, her hand trembling. I've been doing this for decades. Each time, it takes something from me, strength, years, pieces of who I am. That is why I am what you see now. Luis's throat goes dry. You mean, you step into time? The woman nods. Not into the whole river, no. Only into the broken pools left behind. She rises, her shawl brushing the floor, and begins adjusting the knobs on the device. Sparks spit, glass tubes rattle. The glow swells until the entire room is awash in shifting color. Come closer, she says. Luis hesitates. Every nerve screams to back away. But curiosity burns hotter than fear. Slowly, he approaches the machine. The glow sharpens, resolving into an image, a boy, about Luis's age, walking down Elm Street at dusk. The same boy from the newspaper clipping. His figure flickers, caught between shadow and light, like a film reel stuttering. Luis gasps. That's him. The missing kid. The woman nods. He is trapped in the fracture. The night he vanished repeats endlessly, an echo carved into this place. Luis's chest tightens. Can't you let him out? Her voice drops, almost a whisper. I've tried. But the machine answers to new blood now. To someone younger, unbroken by years. Her eyes meet his, burning with intensity. It answers to you. Luis stumbles back. Me? No. I can't. You already crossed the threshold, she interrupts sharply. You saw the watch. You heard the whisper. The echoes have chosen you, whether you want them or not. The machine hums louder, the boy's figure shuddering in the glow. The old woman grips Luis's shoulders, her voice urgent. If you walk away, he stays lost forever. And worse, the fracture will spread. More will disappear. Until the whole street is swallowed. Luis's mind races. He wants to run, to deny all of it. But deep inside, he knows the choice isn't his anymore. The house, the machine, the echoes, they've already claimed him. With trembling hands, he steps closer to the machine, staring at the boy frozen in time. What do I have to do? He whispers. The old woman exhales, almost in relief. You have to go in. The machine thrums like a heartbeat, its coils sparking with nervous energy. Luis stands before it, palms slick with sweat, staring at the frozen boy inside the glow. Every instinct screams for him to run. But the old woman's voice cuts through his fear. If you walk away, he stays lost forever. Luis clenches his fists. He thinks of the boy's photo on the library notice board, of the empty eyes of the grieving parents he never knew, of Mrs. Harlan's whispered warnings. Maybe this is insane, but he can't shake the thought that the boy deserves more than to flicker endlessly in a loop no one else can see. The woman adjusts the final switch. Listen carefully, she says, her tone urgent. The fracture will pull you in. You'll be inside the night it happened. But you won't be invisible. You'll be there, as yourself. The echo may try to keep you. If it feels too strong, find the watch. It's your tether. Luis swallows hard. And if I can't? Her eyes harden. Then you'll be just another whisper in this house. Before he can answer, the glow swells, flooding his vision. He feels a tug behind his ribs, like an invisible hand yanking him forward. The room dissolves. Luis stumbles onto a dirt road under a fading sunset. The air is cooler here, tinged with the smell of hay and chimney smoke. He spins around. The houses look smaller, newer, their paint fresh. The cars parked along the street are boxy, old-fashioned. It hits him, this is the past. And there, only a few yards ahead, walks the boy from the clipping. Shoulders hunched, hands shoved into his pockets, he kicks a rock along the road. Luis's throat tightens. Hey, he calls. The boy startles, glancing back. His eyes widen at the sight of Luis, dressed in sneakers and a t-shirt that doesn't belong to this time. Who are you? Luis jogs closer, trying to sound calm. My name's Luis. I need to walk with you. The boy frowns, wary but not running. You're not from here. Luis shakes his head. Not exactly. But I know what's about to happen. You go missing tonight. People look for you, but they never find you. The boy laughs nervously, kicking the rock harder. That's dumb. I'm just going home. But even as he says it, the air shifts. A low hum rises, familiar, like the machine's buzz but heavier, darker. Shadows at the edge of the street ripple unnaturally, spreading like spilled ink. Luis's stomach drops. This must be the fracture. The boy freezes, his face paling. What is that? Luis grabs his arm. Run. They sprint, sneakers pounding the dirt. But no matter how far they run, the street stretches endlessly, the shadows curling closer, swallowing the houses. Luis realizes the loop is tightening, dragging them toward the moment of disappearance. Then he sees it, lying in the dirt ahead. The silver pocket watch. Its glow is faint, but steady. "Grab that!" Luis shouts. The boy stumbles. "Why?" "Just do it." They dive together, Luis's fingers closing around the cold metal. The instant he touches it, the shadows recoil. The hum falters. For a moment, the street is silent again. The boy stares at him, eyes wide with fear. "What's happening? Where are we?" Luis holds the watch tight, its tick-tick-tick loud against his palm. He doesn't know how to explain. He only knows this isn't over. The fracture won't let them go so easily. And somewhere in the silence, he hears the old woman's voice, faint but urgent, as if carried across time, "Don't lose the tether. Whatever happens, don't let go." Luis tightens his grip, bracing for whatever comes next. The watch beats like a heart in Luis's palm, steady, insistent, alive. For one terrifying moment, the world feels still. But then the silence fractures. A sound rises around them, faint at first, then multiplying, footsteps, laughter, whispers, all overlapping, as if hundreds of voices were echoing through the same narrow tunnel. The boy grips Luis's arm. "Who's there?" The street begins to fold in on itself. Houses blur and repeat, one after another, like copies stamped from the same mold. Every window reflects the two of them, but in some reflections, Luis sees only himself, no boy beside him. In others, he sees the boy standing alone, staring back, lips moving silently. Luis's chest tightens. This is what she meant by the echo. "Don't look at them," he urges, tugging the boy forward. "Keep your eyes on me." But the boy hesitates. One reflection shows his mother, waving from a porch bathed in golden light. "Mom," he whispers. "Don't." Luis snaps, yanking him back just as the boy's hand lifts toward the glass. The image flickers, and the golden light turns into a sickly green glow. The mother's smile warps into something jagged and too wide. The boy gasps, shoving his fist into his mouth to stop a scream. The whispers grow louder. Shapes slither across the road, coalescing into figures, half-formed, gray silhouettes that shuffle closer. Their faces are featureless hollows, their movements jerky, as if pulled by invisible strings. Luis raises the watch. Its ticking grows louder, and the shapes falter, recoiling slightly, though not retreating. "Back up," he says, his own voice trembling. "We have to find a way out." The boy points. Far down the endless street, a door shimmers faintly in the dark, a wooden frame standing alone with no wall to hold it. "That," the boy says, his voice thin with hope and fear. "It looks real." Luis doesn't argue. They run, but the ground shifts under their feet, stretching like rubber. Every step forward feels smaller, weaker. The gray figures close in, their whispers now forming words, "Stay. Stay with us. You belong here." The boy falters, clutching his ears. "Make them stop." Luis pulls him forward, shouting above the noise. "They're not real. Keep moving." But even as he says it, one figure breaks free of the crowd, darting faster, sharper. It lunges at Luis, its hollow face twisting into a scream. Instinctively, Luis thrusts the watch toward it. The silver bursts into light, searing white. The figure shatters like glass, dissolving into smoke. The boy stares in awe. "How did you?" "No time." Luis barks. "Run." They push forward, lungs burning. The door grows clearer with each desperate stride, but so do the whispers. They shift, turning personal, cruel. Luis hears his own father's voice, distant and cold, "You'll never be enough. You'll fail him too." His steps falter. The boy glances at him, panic in his eyes. "Don't listen," he shouts, echoing Luis's own words back at him. That jolts Luis awake. He tightens his grip on the boy's hand and forces his legs to move. The door looms now, tall and impossibly ordinary, its brass knob gleaming. Luis slams the watch against it. For a heartbeat, nothing happens. Then the knob twists on its own, and the door creaks open, spilling warm light into the suffocating dark. Together, they tumble through. The street collapses behind them like torn paper, the whispers cut off in an instant. Luis lies panting on cool wooden floorboards. The boy curls beside him, gasping for breath. They are inside a dim, unfamiliar room. Old wallpaper peels from the walls. A single lamp flickers overhead. The boy's voice is small but steady. We made it. Luis isn't so sure. Because in the far corner of the room, a shadow stirs, too solid, too knowing. And it's waiting for them. The room is too still. Dust hangs in the air like it's been waiting for centuries. Luis forces himself upright, every muscle in his body trembling from the run. The boy clings to his sleeve, staring at the shadow that doesn't belong. It shifts. Slowly at first, then with unnerving purpose. The edges of the shadow peel away from the corner and stretch across the wall, forming limbs that shouldn't exist, bending in ways bones can't. Its voice rises like a chorus pulled from 1,000 throats. You trespass. Luis grips the watch so tightly the edges bite into his skin. What are you? The shadow tilts its head, as if considering. The lamp flickers harder, throwing the thing's shape across every surface. I am what keeps the fracture closed. The guardian. Without me, the cracks spread. Without me, there is no end to the echoes. The boy swallows hard. Then why are you hunting us? That awful chorus rises again, laughter this time, sharp and joyless. Because you do not belong here. And because he, a tendril points toward Luis, carries what was never his. Luis looks down at the silver watch, the heartbeat still pulsing steady in his palm. This? The guardian shifts closer, its body oozing along the ceiling like oil sliding downhill. The key. The balance. It must return to the fracture, or everything collapses. Luis's pulse spikes. If he gives it up, what happens to the boy? What happens to him? The boy grips Luis's arm. Don't. It's lying. Am I? The guardian whispers, its form tightening, condensing into something vaguely human. A tall figure, cloaked in black, faceless but with eyes like cracks of fire. Ask yourself why you hear voices that are not yours. Why you see things you should not. The key is not for you. It chooses a vessel, and discards them when it is finished. The words claw into Luis's chest. He remembers the voices, the reflection that taunted him with his father's disappointment. His grip falters. The boy steps in front of him, small but unshaken. You don't scare us. The guardian leans low, its firelit eyes burning inches above the boy's face. Oh, little echo, you should be terrified. You are nothing but a fragment. A sliver of what was lost. Luis pulls the boy back, fury rising to smother his fear. You don't get to touch him. The guardian straightens, its body unfurling into impossible height, scraping the ceiling. Then you will break with him. The lamp explodes, plunging the room into darkness. Only the faint white glow of the watch remains, casting shaky halos across the peeling wallpaper. From every direction, whispers surge, deeper, harsher, like the roar of a storm. Luis clutches the boy to his chest and thrusts the watch forward. Its ticking grows louder, faster, frantic. The guardian hisses, retreating slightly but circling them like a predator testing its prey. You cannot run forever, it says, voice cutting through the din, every path ends with me. Luis takes a shaky breath, lifting the boy by the shoulders. Then we'll make our own path. The boy nods, tears streaking his face but his jaw set. The door, we have to find another door. Luis scans the room, searching desperately in the half-light. The wallpaper peels in patterns that don't make sense, almost forming outlines of doors that aren't there. But one patch, just one, seems to pulse in time with the watch's beat. He points. There. Hold on to me. The guardian lunges, its body unraveling into a torrent of black limbs. Louise charges forward, slamming the watch into the pulsing wall. The surface splits like paper tearing, light flooding through the gap. Behind them, the guardian screams, a sound like glass shattering, thunder crashing, and every nightmare Louise has ever had rolled into one. And then, with a final heave, they fall through the tear. The fall feels endless. Louise clutches the boy against his chest, the silver watch pressed between them, its ticking rattling in his bones. The world around them isn't darkness but shards of light and shadow breaking apart, like stained glass smashed in slow motion. Each fragment shows a glimpse, streets repeating endlessly, faceless figures marching in circles, reflections that move out of sync. Then, with a jolt, they slam onto solid ground. Louise groans, rolling to shield the boy from the impact. When he looks up, his breath catches. They are standing inside the fracture. The space stretches infinitely in all directions, yet it feels claustrophobic. Towers of broken houses float in the air, colliding and folding into each other. Streets twist upside down, spiraling into nothingness. And through it all, a pulse, deep and rhythmic, as if the whole place is alive. The boy stares, wide-eyed. It's broken. Louise swallows hard. It's more than broken. It's collapsing. As if in answer, a thunderous crack tears through the void. Whole sections of houses splinter and vanish, sucked into a black abyss at the center of the fracture. From that abyss, the guardian rises, its shape more massive than before, stretching like a shadow cast by an unseen sun. You cannot leave, it bellows, its voice shaking the ground beneath them. This is where all echoes return. Louise drags the boy behind a chunk of floating wall. The watch burns hot in his hand, it's ticking furious. He realizes it's not fighting him, it's warning him. The boy grips his arm. It wants something. Can you feel it? Louise nods. It's connected to all of this. He stares at the abyss where the guardian towers. If we don't do something, the whole place will collapse. And maybe, it takes our world with it. The guardian moves, its limbs spreading like roots across the fractured streets. Wherever it touches, the ground withers, crumbles, and falls away. Louise's chest tightens with panic. They're running out of space. A memory flashes unbidden, his father's voice, sharp and disappointed. You'll never be enough. Louise clenches his jaw. This isn't the time to doubt. He looks at the boy. If this watch is the key, maybe it can stitch this place back together. The boy shakes his head, eyes wide. What if it destroys us instead? Louise forces a smile he doesn't feel. Then at least we try. Together. They sprint toward the abyss, the ground trembling beneath their feet. The guardian notices, its body folding into a monstrous shape, claws stretching across the void. You dare defy me? It roars. Louise doesn't slow. We don't belong here, he shouts back, raising the watch high. And neither does this. The silver explodes with light. For a moment, Louise feels everything, the fracture's pain, the weight of countless echoes trapped within, the loneliness of a world trying to hold itself together. The guardian screams, recoiling as the light sears through its shadowy form. The boy grabs Louise's hand, adding his voice to the chaos. We're not your echoes. Together, they hurl the watch into the heart of the abyss. Silence. Then, impact. The abyss convulses, swallowing the light. A shockwave rips outward, tearing through the fractured streets. The guardian howls, its massive body splitting apart, unraveling into smoke. Louise throws his arms around the boy as the world caves in around them. The ground splits, the sky folds, and everything becomes blinding white. For a terrifying moment, Louise thinks they're gone too. Then he feels it, warmth, not from fire or fear, but from sunlight. Real sunlight. The brightness softens. Luis blinks hard, tears stinging his eyes from the glare. The roar of collapsing worlds fades into the chirping of birds, the rustle of leaves, the faraway hum of a quiet street. He's lying on grass. Cool, damp, and very real. The boy stirs beside him, groaning softly before sitting up. His small hands dig into the earth as if to test it. When he looks at Luis, there's a tremble in his voice. We made it back. Luis pushes himself upright, heart pounding. They're sitting at the edge of a familiar street, Elm Street. The houses are whole, ordinary, with children's bikes in driveways and curtains swaying in open windows. No echoes, no shadows. Just home. He laughs shakily, ruffling the boy's hair. Yeah. Looks like we did. But something feels different. He glances at his palm where the watch should be. It's gone. No ticking. No glow. Only a faint red mark pressed into his skin, like the memory of weight. The boy notices too. His eyes widen. The watch? Luis shakes his head. It's finished. Maybe that's what sealed the fracture. It gave itself up. They sit in silence for a moment, the normalcy around them almost unreal after everything they've endured. Then the boy hugs his knees, his small frame trembling. Do you think it's really over? Luis looks down the street. Number 17 stands there, quiet and unassuming, its porch bathed in sunlight. For a second, he expects to see the reflection of himself, the endless copies, the shadow waiting. But the house is just a house. Empty windows. Still air. Yeah, Luis says softly. It's over. The boy exhales, relief mixing with exhaustion. He leans into Luis's side. For the first time since that night began, Luis lets himself breathe deeply. But as he does, a thought gnaws at him. Why had the watch chosen him? Why had it whispered in his ear, shown him his father's voice, his fears? Maybe the guardian was right, maybe he had been nothing more than a vessel. And yet, in the end, it wasn't the watch that saved them. It was the choice they made. The refusal to let fear define them. Luis looks down at the boy, his face peaceful now in the morning sun. You're safe, he whispers, though it's as much a promise to himself as to the child. Sirens wail faintly in the distance. Headlights sweep the far end of the street. A car pulls up fast, brakes screeching. A woman stumbles out, tears streaking her face. Eli, she cries. The boy, Eli, jerks up, his eyes flooding with recognition. Mom. He tears from Luis's side, running full tilt. The woman collapses to her knees as Eli crashes into her arms, sobbing. Luis watches, his chest tight, every muscle both aching and light. The mother looks up at him, clutching Eli close. You, her voice breaks. Thank you. Thank you for bringing him back. Luis shakes his head, too choked to answer. He manages a small nod, then turns away. The street feels brighter now. Ordinary. Safe. But as he walks past number 17, a flicker catches his eye. Just for a heartbeat. The faintest outline of a door on its peeling wall. And in his palm, though the watch is gone, he swears he feels one last tick, steady, familiar. Luis closes his fist. He doesn't need the watch anymore. Some echoes, he realizes, never vanish completely. But maybe that's the point. They're reminders, not chains. He exhales, shoulders loosening for the first time in years. Behind him, Eli's laughter rings out, clear and alive. Ahead, the morning stretches wide and open. Luis steps forward into the light.